right, 45 ACP ballistic test. And what I have today is the Winchester Kinetic HE, HE standing for high energy. And I believe this ammunition has been discontinued because I can't find it on Winchester's website. I can't find any reference to it anywhere newer than 2016. So it's interesting here, but my Patreon Dan sent me this ammunition. I've been sitting on it for probably 7 or 8 months, and I've been wanting to test it. And since I got my Smith & Wesson Governor, I thought it would be kind of interesting to kind of see what we get out of this ammunition. Now, previously when I tested some 45 ACP, the performance wasn't great out of this, even though we have the same, you know, amount of bullet travel in that gun. When we line up the back of the cylinder with the chamber, it's pretty much identical to the muzzle, but we had this sound, this weird sound when I fired most 45 ACP, and a lot less velocity than what we got out of this Glock, which is a 5.3 inch barrel, and this is a 2 3/4 inch. A lot of people were saying, well, maybe there's powder blow by and stuff like that. My theory is maybe it's something like what's happening if you try to fire a 22 long rifle through a 22 Magnum chamber, or maybe the cases are expanding outward and losing pressure. If that were the case, a nickel plated brass would probably reduce that, but we'll kind of find out here. If it's anything less than 300 feet per second loss, maybe that's a part of the equation, but I'm not really sure. But we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy we get at the same time in these two different guns, and kind of confirm what kind of energy is lost in that revolver there. And then I'm going to do my 10% clear ballistic test, which contains 4 layers of denim, followed by 3 inches of clear ballistics to represent hitting a pectoral muscle, followed by 1/4 inch MDF to represent hitting like ribs or sternum, and to more clear ballistics. So we'll see how these will do with a really high velocity and probably a lot lower velocity. And then I'm going to fire from 25 yards at my steel silhouette, full-size steel silhouette, just kind of see what kind of overall practical accuracy we can get with these rounds. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our Glock 41 with our 5.3 inch barrel. By the way, it is a 185 grain, and it is rated at 1110 feet per second. So that's typically through a 4-inch barrel, if I think I know that right, but I'm not 100% sure. It could be through a 5-inch barrel. I know Remington uses 4-inch barrels, and Winchester, I don't know. They probably use a 1911, so we should get around that 1110 feet per second. So let's see what we get with our Glock 41. 1089, 1067, 1086, 979, 1059. We had one that was pretty low compared to the rest. Accuracy's good though. Let's see how the revolver does. All right, Smith & Wesson Governor. We'll see if we have that audible, you know, reduction in pressure or not. But let's see how close we get to, you know, we're getting high 1000 or 1000s, I mean. Let's see how close we get to that with our revolver here. .877, so a little better than what I normally hear for sound out of rounds like this. Wow, 1024, 965, 948, 883. That last one had a little bit of a funny sound, but I'm gonna say, I think my theory is correct that a reduction in that pressure with normal brass expanding outward is what was making this shoot really slow. We were talking like 600 feet per second with some of the other run-of-the-mill 45 ACP rounds, and it just had that sound like that reduction in pressure. But our nickel plating has, you know, that brass is encapsulated in that nickel, which makes it stretch less. So I'm pretty certain that's what's going on here. So let's move on to our ballistic gel test and see what we get. All right, first up we have our Glock 41 through our 4 layers of denim, 3 inches of clear ballistics, a 1/4 inch MDF, and more clear ballistics. Let's see how it does. And our longer barreled pistol. 10 So what we're seeing here is massive amount of expansion right away. So it's no surprise why we don't have a whole lot of penetration going on here. What we have is about 10.5 overall, massive expansion. We should theoretically get somewhere around 12.5 without the MDF, but let's try it without the MDF and see what we get. All right, no MDF, which is like a gut shot because it's not like hitting ribs or sternum like the MDF kind of represents. So let's see what we get with this. All right, so what we're looking at here is instead of that 10.5 inch damage path, we are at about 12 3/4, massive expansion. So that equation did kind of play out with the MDF versus no MDF, and that looks really good. Let's see what we get with the revolver. You know, we're going to reduce that velocity quite a bit. I don't know if that'll reduce the expansion or not, but let's find out. All right, Smith & Wesson Governor was shooting a little bit high, but let's see what we get here through our MDF with this. That is interesting. So rather than reduce expansion, it simply reduced overall penetration. And we can tell right here that there is some expansion in that first 3 inches. But our overall penetration is only about 7 inches is how far our damage path goes. So let's try it without the MDF to see what we get. All right, no MDF, just our gut shot. Let's see how this does. All right, interesting. Our damage path actually goes to about 11 3/4, but our bullet rested at about 9 inches. So what I can definitely say though is looking at 45 ACP rounds, this seems to be one of the better rounds for that Governor, even though we did not get what I would necessarily consider adequate penetration, but we got a lot of expansion. So let's shoot for that 25 yards, see what kind of practical accuracy we can get. All right, Glock 21, 25 yards from the target. Let's see what we get with this. So that's consistently impacting just a little bit to the left for me. It's a, you know, held center, and that's kind of what we saw close range. And I don't think my sights are off. See how our Governor does. Not bad. That's relatively where I was aiming. So overall, even though you can't really buy this ammunition anymore that I know of, it seems like a good ammunition. Very consistent, reliable, and this gun did better than most 45 autos. So pretty decent ammunition overall. So that's what you get. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.